You can also be a startup. And we've been introducing more and more throughout the regional promotional programme initiatives directed specifically to startups. In the next couple of months, we have 3 of those. One in Dublin called Dublin Tech, where we'll be taking part with 10 startups, obviously operating mainly in IT, IoT, or that have specific technology for those markets. Collision in Canada, they're both in June. And then in September, we'll have the opportunity of hosting IFIB, which again, you'll hear more about that as well later from Mario Bonacorso, which is dedicated specifically to biotechnology and bioeconomy. So, as you can see, the regional government does do as much as possible to boost startups. We hope that with the new programming period, we'll have more and more interesting instruments to make available to you. And obviously, we're on hand if you need any information. And obviously, we work more and more with the funds that are already operating in Italy to make sure that our companies are getting the funding they need to become more competitive on the international market. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. What is sure, Puglia is not only a stunning region, it's also a very dynamic region with a strong commitment for the circular bioeconomy and the biotechnology. Then I ask Luca Lauro for a brief presentation of Italian Trade Agency and the policies to attract investments to Italy.
Good morning all. Italian Trade Agency is today here with some foreign investors from Germany, Netherlands, and by streaming with foreign investors involved from over 23 countries through our desk and analyst network abroad. And Invest in Italy is a project, a national public project to promote the encounter between ideas, projects, and Italian enterprises with foreign investors, and in strategic sector. And biotech and circular economy is now one of the most strategic ones. So we are very glad to stay here. We thank you. We would like to thank to Assobiotec and Intesa Sanpaolo as a main organizer of BioInitaly, but we want to thank you to Regione Puglia and Comune di Lecce to host this event. And we wish you for all to get the best profit from this conference, and thank you very much to stay here.
Thanks, Luca. Don't forget Cluster Spring. Okay, so thanks for your presentation. Now I leave the floor to Vivek Dogra for his presentation, and also to Bill. So Bill, join here, and you can then moderate the arena meeting. Thank you very much. You need yes. No, remote pointer.
Good morning. My name is Vivek. I'm really happy to be here with you. I'm based near Lausanne in Switzerland, and it's my first time in this region, so really happy to be here. I'll talk about ECBF. ECBF stands for the European Circular Bioeconomy Fund. It's a name not of our choosing, but it's come from EIB, the European Investment Bank, which has supported the setup of the fund right from the very start, and it's operating directly under the EU Green Deal. So just a few factors which are driving what we would call the European bioeconomy, starting of course with changing consumer preferences. Consumers are looking for beyond the current crisis of COVID and things on the eastern part of Europe, people are really looking for authenticity, for sustainability. There is no planet B, and this is coming not just from us, but also with consumers. There is the EU Green Deal I just mentioned. There's also EU taxonomy. So what does it mean to be a green operation? And we are really fortunate. EU has worked quite extensively in this area, and we followed this taxonomy. There is also, the world is changing, digitalization, new business models in almost every sector of the industry. We are seeing this change happen. And of course, there is a real leading R&D center, R&D capability across Western Europe to match, and let's say, I would say in certain areas, it's kind of even exceeds what we see in California and parts of the US. And more than anything else, institutional investors, it's not just now a buzzword, ESG, environment, social, and governance factors, but ESG or impact investing with ESG in mind is becoming almost a de rigueur. Without this, things will not work. So I think we are very, very happy to say that ECBF, the European Circular Bioeconomy Fund, it's really the first venture fund focused exclusively on the bioeconomy and circularity in the bioeconomy. You could have bioeconomy without circularity, or you can have also circularity without the bio part. But for us, the starting point of anything is bio, which means bio-based materials, and circularity in the bioeconomy becomes extremely interesting. We have a strong network of LPs. LPs are the limited partners, the investors who have invested in the fund. Just to highlight a few, EIB, of course, the European Investment Bank was a cornerstone investor, that's on the top left. But a few insurance companies like Allianz, institutional investors like BNP Paribas, Ronten Bank, NRW Bank, Volkswagen, these are all banks out of Germany and France in particular, but corporates like Nestle in Switzerland, where I am based and where I used to work in the past. Neste on the extreme north in Finland, it's the world leader in sustainable aviation fuel. We have companies like Firmenich, privately owned, but the world leader in B2B part or in the food industry, in flavors and fragrances in particular. And also Corbion, a specialty chemicals company and ingredients company out of Netherlands. Also companies like Kuehler Group and Bufa out of Germany, which are into paper, and Bufa is into specialty chemicals. So all of these are, let's say, really interested in the bioeconomy. We also have an example from Invest NL, which is probably something similar to what we just saw, as a state-funded entity which is interested in the bioeconomy. So a few facts of our company. We are focused on growth stage companies. We are not typically investing in early stage. We can finance through equity and mezzanine project finance instrument. Our focus is the EU 27, the club of European countries 27, plus associated countries, which includes Switzerland, where I am based, also Norway, which is not a full member of the EU, plus Israel, but minus the UK. So post-Brexit, UK is not in the club, but it's, think of us as Europe plus Israel as the region where we invest in. So we are 18 months into the setup of the fund. We have a 10-year horizon. Next 3.5 to 4 years will be the investment period, and the 5 years after that will be the exit for what we would consider. We are oversubscribed. Our target was 250 million, but we have raised successfully 300 million. We would typically invest as an initial round 2 million going up to 10 million, but this is of course a range. As a second round, it could be even a bit more. We can lead or co-lead in a syndicate with other investors. And for us, the first filter, the people ask us, what is the first thing you look at is where is the ESG metrics for the company that is approaching us or we are considering for an investment. So a snapshot of some of the key people in the team. I'm right in the middle, but the founding partners, I can draw your attention, and these are people Mario has known for a while. Michael Brandkaff and Michael Nettesheim. Michael Brandkaff has a long history in banking in Germany. Michael Nettesheim was ex-BASF. I would also point out Peter from AkzoNobel, Stefan from Solvay, and myself from Nestle. So we are not just finance people, we are industry people. We have been long history in the industry. We have the network with the corporates, and we know what it kind of, I hope to claim that we know what it takes to succeed, and also network with the corporates for a startup. So what we see is, more than anything else, we look at the TRL, the technology readiness level for a company, and this is a methodology well organized with the NASA in the US. TRL 6, 7, 8, 9 is when it's the idea for the company, for the startup, has moved from pure pilot, from a lab scale to a pilot plant scale, and looking to build the capacity at an industrial scale. And they are closest to commercialization. If the product is not in the market yet, it should be in the market over the next 12 to 18 months. This is what we define as TRL. And of course, in the venture capital world, this is well understood, seed to Series A. We are more like a Series B onwards as our investment scope. So what we invest in today really is kind of three verticals. Food tech and ag tech are well understood, but also the second vertical, I would say, is bio-based materials, in particular for the packaging industry. So the packaging industry, particularly for food and personal care, is a bit under the radar, for creating pollution in the environment and excessive use of plastic. So biomaterials for use in packaging is really an important area for us. And the last one would be white biotech, or green chemistry, as we would call it, specialty chemicals. And more than anything else, things which bring in an element of circularity of the material. For us, it really is keeping value in the value chain in industry for a longer period. And of course, digital technologies which can enable this, and then fits in with those SDGs, the UN recommended SDGs. And this is some of the investment matrix that we look at. So just going a bit deeper on this, some examples, circular business models, we can talk of food waste reduction or use of food side streams, valorizing side streams, which are anyway an output of the food industry, can be reused in some way, whether for food or feed or packaging, and so on. And I think some of the examples for the startups which we'll present later today is in this area. We can talk of emerging value chains. Plant-based diets is an important area. The world is talking about it, and dozens of startups in this area. But will this be sustainable? Will it really make an impact? Under the EU Green Deal metrics is something we look closely at. Novel, more sustainable products. We can talk food ingredients, also given our investor base with companies like Corbion, Nestle, and Firmenich. It's of great interest. But again, back to green chemistry, biorefineries, synthetic biology, these are all important areas. So we look at creating things where it fits in, but of course we don't need to put things into certain boxes. If there are things a bit outside of this area, we are happy to have a look there. Some examples of the companies we have already invested in over the last 18 months, 7 investments already made. First one on the chart is LOVE, or LOUV. LOUV stands for lupin and vegan. So it's a dairy alternate company in Germany, already present across the DACH region, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, with most large retailers. So while the world is talking a bit of soy and wheat or even pea-based dairy alternates, there are many examples of that. This company has taken the lead on lupin as an ingredient, and made both dairy yogurts and ice creams out of lupin. The second one is Peel Pioneers. It's a company in Netherlands which picks up the orange peels. It's just by design, it's also in Netherlands, so orange is important. So the orange peels from supermarkets, which is just a food waste, they are able to pick it up, in some cases being paid to pick up the waste, and extract using a kind of proprietary biorefining process to extract oils for use in cosmetic at initial stage, and later in feed and as also in food. The third one, Afia Bio, is into biostimulants. It is about reducing chemicals in fertilizers and using biostimulants from the soil itself, so that it leads to reduction of chemicals in the soil and creates eventually a platform for regenerative agriculture. The fourth one, Anuritas, is in Dublin. They are into, it's actually set up by data scientists, and they are able to do discovery of short proteins, peptides, for use as novel ingredients. It's quite a leader in this area. Bottom left is Protex, which is in the area of insect protein with the black soldier fly. And in this case, actually, Europe leads the US in food innovation, because in Europe, the regulatory approval is already given for use of insect protein for use in dog food, in pet food. So some companies already have it as an alternate source of protein for use in pet food. The last one is Illicit Plant. It's a recent investment. It's into against biostimulants for use in hydric stress. The last few summers in Europe have been extremely hot. Climate change is a reality, and instead of losing some part of the crop, with their products, they can. It's sprayed onto crops, starting with wheat, and the crop is not lost in case of extreme heat in the season. So that's a bit where we are. I think in the interest of time, I'll skip some of this. ESG is important. I already mentioned we are following the framework given by the EU under EU taxonomy. We have an extremely detailed due diligence checklist on ESG. We also use external experts to really kind of add value to what the companies can really propose. But without this, the investment will not go forward. And some examples, where we fit in, climate change, I mentioned Afia Bio, Prolopine, Peel Pioneer, these are all in this area, and more representative examples as well, on which are the important areas of the EU's environmental objectives and how these portfolio companies fit in there. Similar thing, we start with the EU taxonomy, and then for each element in terms of our assessment, we need to look at the different metrics. And another thing I would like to say is that it's not just at the initial investment stage, but we take an active role as an investor, and if everything is not in line with the taxonomy for the startup today, because there's a lot of work, we are happy to support the startup in achieving, through the course of our investment, the ESG metrics, and also monitor them on an annual basis. So what brings me here in particular is really we are looking for the interesting companies, Italy in general, this region in particular, which fit our criteria. And this is not just us as investors, but our founding partner, the EIB. What we are looking for is, just to summarize, EU 27 countries. So we are a pan-European fund. We are not only focused on Germany or the RAC region. It's pan-European. We can invest in any of the 27 countries plus associated countries. Maturity levels, which means it needs to be a bit more advanced. Initial revenue or offtake agreements, which means revenue is in the foreseeable future. Financial return. So yes, we can lead, we can co-lead, and we look for the return for our investors. And we really play the role of an active investor by taking on a board position. And the company should have a clear objective towards achieving the EU's ESG metrics. So industry partners, corporate partners, our own industry experience and the team, all of this kind of adds value to our investment. So I think with that I can conclude. If you have any comments, I'm around, or see you in the next sessions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. And we're glad to have the European Circular Bioeconomy Fund representing here. Of course, we're looking at 300 million in capital under management that they're going to be deploying over the next 5 years. And so it's exciting to have this venture capital firm focused on this area of investment, especially at this moment in time where we have so much at stake, but also so much opportunity. My name is Bill Barber, and I'm happy to be here in Lecce, and this is always great to come into the Puglia region, so buongiorno a tutti, and guten tag, and hello, and we're glad to have everyone in the room here today. We have an opportunity to look at projects through the lens of BioInitaly, and this is particularly interesting to me. The first time I came to Italy to work was specifically for the BioInitaly program more than 1 decade ago. I started working with Intesa Sanpaolo as part of the marketing side of the bank as they were looking to invest and to promote innovation And over the past 10 years, working with Assobiotec and Spring and others, we've had a chance to work on BioInitaly for all of these more than 10 years, 11 years. So I appreciate being here, and I appreciate this opportunity to talk about biology. My background is actually as a cell biologist. I actually started in marine biology, worked into cell biology, biochemistry, chemistry, and automation systems with a small company called Amgen. So if anyone knows this company, when I started with it in 1988, we had about 150 employees. I knew everyone in the company, and this was before their first product was introduced. By the time I left Amgen 10 years later, 30,000 employees with billions in revenue and profitability, and it was an interesting time to go through the conversion of a startup to a major corporation. And so I had a chance to learn about entrepreneurship, risk, and the biotechnology field through that experience, and then went on to start 7 different companies in different technology areas over the last 25 years or so. So this has been an interesting opportunity for me to work in the Italian community, and in fact, I feel that working in Europe, working in Italy specifically, is one of the most opportunistic innovation moments in history. There's a great opportunity for science, and there's some of the best science in the world is coming out of the Italian community. And there's also enormous opportunities on the upside for investment, and so this is a key driver of my interest here, of course. So we have today an opportunity to talk to you and to work with you on this BioInitaly program here today. This is an investment forum, and so we're thinking through the lens of investors as we work with our companies today. We have 6 projects that we'll be presenting to you, but it's not just a one-way presentation today. It's actually an opportunity for Q&A and a bit of engagement through the interaction in the day today. But with that, we have a process, and this process with the BioInitaly program is really the process of the Startup Initiative. This is a program that we started actually in California. We translated it into the Italian culture, into the Italian community and the European community as well. It really starts with a series of loops here. We really think of this as feedback and filtering. It's a process that starts with applications and pre-screening, moves into an educational program, which we call the boot camp, or this master class, which we now call the world class, because we're always focused on taking companies to the world class. That is really a workshop opportunity to really kind of look through the lens of what diligence means. Excuse me. We have a mouse that's moving in both directions at the same time. Let's see. So we have this opportunity to look at this through the lens of a deal flow engine that is then a path towards understanding from each one of the projects through a series of one-to-one experiences plus some interactions from the investor community, a chance to evaluate and select the best projects that we can for the investment community, and not just for business angels and venture capitalists, but the entire investment community that circulates around these processes. This is really about kind of looking at diligence as pre-diligence in evaluating and selecting projects. From there, we typically move into programs like this, an arena meeting, where we have a chance to really understand from the market, from the investor community, what projects are likely to move forward. And we'll talk about what that means in a minute. This is feedback that we can really take from the market at a global level. So this gives us an opportunity to visualize through the lens or through the vision of the investor community as well. This leads us towards diligence, towards the investment, and ultimately everyone is focused on one thing, and that's the return on investment, the opportunity to get a reasonable return in a reasonable amount of time from the projects that we invest in. So we have a focus within the Intesa Sanpaolo Startup Initiative programs that focuses on multiple different technologies, multiple different countries, and for different stages of development. And ultimately, what we need to understand is these technology areas that are shown on the horizontal axis are never truly independent. We think of the companies that are on the stock exchange today, none of them are from a single technology. They're all mergers of technologies, collisions between companies, between entrepreneurs, where we see true value or exponential value being created. So this is really about a collision structure to capture different technologies as they apply to industry, to industrial output. So the programs that we run are designed, and they're designed specifically to intersect between that technology as it leads towards industrialization. So our primary targets with Intesa Sanpaolo as a group, and now that group has evolved into the Intesa Sanpaolo Innovation Center. That Innovation Center is focused on a couple of key targets. The first one are the innovation ecosystem players, which represents everything from the accelerators, incubators, and all of the support systems around the scientific community as it applies to innovation. The other one is corporate players, and so these are typically thought of as being the acquisition or the buy side of the innovation community. And so, of course, we have many corporations that are looking for innovation either internally or through open innovation pathways. And we can provide a window into those open innovation pathways. So the Innovation Center actually sells programs to corporations for open innovation. So this is a primary path. And the last one are the financing entities, which of course have to play a collaborative and mutually supportive role in seeing projects go from concept all the way to ROI. This path is uniquely connected, and I kind of promised that I would talk about this in a little bit, and that is through the lens of risk. So as investors, we are always looking at these 4 areas of risk with an understanding that we need to satisfy all 4 of these areas to truly drive our investments. Of course, this is something that as entrepreneurs we have to learn sometimes the hard way, but as investors we also are frequently running down this path of understanding the different risk areas that we need to manage. The first one is the technology risk, and we think of this as being the responsibility of the startups, of the technologists. They need to understand if they can make the tech work. So this is the technology risk. Will it work? If that's the responsibility of the scale-up by itself, that's one issue, the startup or the scale-up. But the scale-ups and startups are also responsible for the human talent, so the management piece of the puzzle, which means that we have 2 different areas that they need to cover. The technology risk, will it work? And the management risk, do you have a team for today? And will you be able to build the team for tomorrow? And this is, of course, one of the core evolutionary steps for any startup or scale-up. Now, venture capital can help dramatically with that part of the puzzle. They can invest in HR, the R&D, and the marketing that comes along with the development cycle of a startup and a scale-up. So the venture capital community is very important to that part of the puzzle of taking on the responsibility of that risk of developing the team of tomorrow. But venture capital also has to be very cautious about the investment risk. The investment risk being, will this company capture all of the resources it needs to finish the job? If you get 80% of the way finished, but you can't get to market, everyone loses everything. So we know as a venture capital or business angel investors, we need to confirm, we need to be confident that the company will be able to raise all of the capital it needs to finish the job. And many times that means we need to look at what the customers will bring to the equation. Are the customers willing to pay? Do they want or demand the product? And are they willing to pay enough to make it profitably sustainable? So that part, in some cases, especially capital-intensive technologies, those technologies that require capital asset acquisition, we can then bring in alternative financing. Of course, we think of customer financing as being one of those areas where we can close the loop on the different risk elements. We know we have the technology risk covered by the scale-up, the management risk shared between the venture capital and the scale-ups. We have the investment risk supported by multiple different sources of capital, and we have customers to make the entire loop come together. The mutual participation in this kind of an ecosystem is what makes successful projects reach the market. And certainly to do this on a scalable global scale, we want to make sure that we have all of these working in harmony. So we have different innovation support players. In this case, I'm putting the Innovation Center of Intesa Sanpaolo in the middle of this to be able to work through some of the identification, some of the preparation and harmonizing of messaging, being able to look at business development with customers, and also support the needs of risk management at the level of a bank. So these different elements, of course, have to be communicated and managed. So I said I would put this up there as a way to kind of think through the realities that we face every time we look at a new project, every time that we look at an opportunity for investment where we're looking for significant returns, knowing that we have not just an independent role to play, but really a harmonized, managed, and mutually beneficial role to play within this investment community. So, that said, we have an opportunity to look at projects today through multiple different lenses. We have 6 projects presenting to us. Almost all of them have come through my programs in the past, the programs of the Intesa Sanpaolo Innovation Center and the Startup Initiative. And so we've had a chance to meet and understand these projects in the past. We'll have all of them, of course, have a circular economy, circular bioeconomy element to them. And so this is the exciting part of today. We'll have them do 8-minute presentations. We'll follow that with the engagement of our audience here today with 5 minutes of Q&A. And then we have a special element that we do with the Startup Initiative program, and that is we'll ask the entrepreneurs, once they've presented and answered questions, we'll ask them to step out of the room for just a few minutes, and we'll have a chance for you as an audience, as an investor community, to do what we call a recap and discussion. That is to ask you to participate in a live edition of this, which is starting with the positives. We'll spend a few minutes to understand what you like about the project, and I will request those comments from you. Then we'll shift gears over to the questions and ask you what you think you would need to have answered in the form of diligence. What questions would you have about this particular project? It goes very quickly. You'll see how this goes after the first project goes through its cycle. Presentation, Q&A. We'll ask the entrepreneur to leave the room for just a few minutes, and we'll have a chance to communicate the positives and the questions. We're going to capture this by typing it up. We have a couple of people watching to hear the questions, hear the positives and the concerns or the questions. Type them up, and we will return that back to the entrepreneurs so they get the feedback from you anonymized, but they have a chance to understand how they impacted you, the audience, during their presentation. So, should be interesting, should be engaging. We have some great projects to present, and we're ready to start immediately right now. We'll have 6 projects. We'll go straight through. We have a catered lunch that will take place right after, so we will not do a coffee break in the middle. I'm sorry to say, I know we're in Italy and this is painful to say, but we have no coffee, So anyway, we'll move right through these 6 projects very quickly and have a chance for you to ask questions and participate in the recap and discussion. So we bring up our first project, which will be Acustica. So if we can switch over to Acustica, the first presenter, we'll have Sara come up here, and we have a chance for you. So actually, this one goes forward. Okay. That one goes back. Right. I learned that the hard way. So we'll have 8 minutes of presentation. That's your microphone, and then we'll go from there directly into our Q&A. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Sara, and I am here with Leonardo, who's the founder of Acustica, which I'm gonna be presenting you today. So Acustica is a startup that deals with R&D, acoustic characterization of spaces and materials, and upcycling interventions on waste materials. It was born in 2019 thanks to the winning of PIN, Puglia's Innovativi, which is a financial instrument promoted by the Puglia region to foster local and young entrepreneurship. The original team consists in acoustic engineers and sound engineers, so we do have a strong focus on the acoustics, of course, but Acustica has prototyped and produced a line of thermal and acoustic insulation from animal, plant, and industrial byproducts with the aim of reducing the ecological footprint of materials employed in the building industry. So why this match between the acoustics and the building sector? So as you may know, thermal and acoustic properties are not really detachable. So we have always conceived the acoustic research and product development as a tool to actually foster a big change in the world of green building and in the building sector. So the main focus of Acustica is ship wool. So why ship wool? It all started with the observation of our territory, which is Puglia, where there is actually an abundance of goat and sheep livestock. But why is sheep wool a byproduct? So sheep wool used to represent a resource for farmers and breeders who used to sell it to wool mills to produce mattresses and pillows. But ordinary sheep's wool, so that is the one which is not employed in the textile industry, is not recovered anymore, and it turned into an issue, a problem. Ordinary grazy wool, sheep wool, has no other reuses nowadays, despite having intrinsic thermal and acoustic properties, and it ends up being burned in the field because of its high disposal costs, which are not sustainable for farmers and breeders. So this is actually the solution of Acustica. So we want to produce, and we actually produce thermal and acoustic insulation products in sheep's wool, at the same time promoting the reconstruction of an Apulian wool supply chain. So to integrate all the stakeholders of the supply chain within the transformation and production process. So here you have So here you can see the panel which we have brought today. So later on, if you have some questions and if you want to have a close look at the panels, you can. Here you have a few examples of installations that we have actually made on rooftops and also walls in private houses. Here you have the very first installation of the first prototype of sheep wool panel within an industrial building in San Vito dei Normanni, which has been reconverted into a community theater thanks to acoustical intervention. Here you have the distribution of sheep and goat livestock in Italy. We just want to highlight the number that 90% of the total amount of greasy wool produced in Italy each year is actually burned in the fields. Okay, this is the fiber, a closer look at the fiber. And here we just wanted to highlight how our project aims at having both an environmental and social impact. So we are promoting the creation of a consortium of breeders to facilitate and coordinate the recovery and transformation of the otherwise incinerated sheep's wool. The ultimate goal is to redistribute the value coming from the marketing, the production of the panels throughout the entire supply chain. So we want to integrate, and we are working on the integration of breeders within the process, and at the same time we produce biodegradable, entirely eco-friendly sheep wool insulation products. And here on the right you can see the shape of the fiber, which is actually the biggest innovation in terms of technology of the production process. So we have a semi-sinusoidal shape of the fiber, which makes the Acustica insulators and sheep wool panels innovative and way more performing than the competitors actually present on the market. Here, so I'm going to go very fast here, but you have a comparison between so sheep wool panels and the main competitors and the other materials actually used in the building sector for insulation. And you can see the amount of CO2 produced and the primary energy consumed for the production of sheep wool panels and the other materials. So sheep wool beats them all. And so here, actually, So this energy efficiency of the production of sheep wool panels is actually the reason why we do think that there is a market opening up for natural materials in the building sector, in the construction sector. So we all know that the introduction of the super bonus and other sets of incentives for energy efficiency has opened up new market possibilities and actually has increased the demand for natural materials. For insulation and in the building sector, but it has also created a market gap because of the scarce availability of other traditional materials and also an increase in price. So Acustica actually can fill that gap. It can respond to this unsatisfied demand currently, and it can do that ensuring safe supply, rapid delivery, but also competitive prices that you can see here on the bottom of the slide. So this is, you can see that there are many benefits of sheep wool panels, and also the price. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that, yeah, the price of sheep wool panels is a bit higher if compared to other traditional materials, but for example, rock wool and glass wool, which is currently used in constructions for insulation, they tend to deteriorate, and in the long run, they are going to be releasing volatile substances in the environment, so they can create damage and they are harmful. And on the other side, sheep wool absorbs humidity, so it can actually enhance the quality of indoor air. So here you have a closer look at the supply chain. Then maybe we're going to leave that for questions. This is the business model. Our main target are construction companies, resellers of items and products for green building, but especially designers, that is architects and engineers. So we base our go-to-market strategy on really highlighting the technical performances of the panels, because we want to convince, and we have we know that we can convince designers that they can replace traditional materials with sheep wool panels, because sometimes natural materials are seen as not performing, but this is not true when it comes to our sheep wool panels. This is our story, yeah. And yeah, my time is over, but then we're here for questions if you want to know something more about the panels.
All right, we have a chance to open it up to the audience for questions. If you hold your hand up, I'll call on you, and you can shout out the question through your mask, of course. This is always the challenge. And I will repeat the question so that we have a chance to hear it well. But I'll start with the first question here, Sara and Leonardo. The idea of this as a building material, of course, is great, but the idea of certification for building material use in construction, how is that handled by your company at this time? And you can use the microphone here if this is.
Yeah, so we are working on the certifications for the reason I mentioned before. So we really want to confirm the technicity and the technical performances. And we already have the certification that confirms that the sheep wool panels comply with the requirements of CAM. Okay, they are criteria, environmental criteria for the building sector. So this is a certification that confirms.
Okay, but fire safety and construction and durability.
Fire safety,
and all
of course. Fire safety. Yeah, high density panels are safe.
And is there any surface coating or other chemical treatment required to make these panels successful?
No, it's completely natural. And this is, what actually differentiates these panels from the competitors. So it's completely natural, completely biodegradable. Because actually our aim is also to produce products that can be transformed over and over again. So this can be, this is completely safe when it comes to disposal, and it can actually go back to the process, to the processing machine, and be transformed into another product.
Okay, excellent. Manfred, you have a question. Go ahead and shout it out. I'll try to repeat it if we need. Oh, okay, very good.
Yeah, Manfred Kircher, congratulations to this idea and to the concept. Do you have any competitive advantage concerning the performance of insulation?
Sorry, I didn't get it. Do we have competitors?
A competitive advantage concerning the performance of insulation.
So the performance, do you have a competitive advantage for the performance of the insulation at this point?
No. Sorry, because he's the founder of the company, but he cannot really explain English. So. Yeah, okay. So in terms of thermal insulation, it is completely comparable to other competitors on the market right now, so it can easily replace any other market. Actually, we are working, so there are some matched products that right now use rock wool or glass wool, which, like I said, they can be harmful and they can be easily replaced with sheep wool completely. And it's even more performing when it comes to acoustic properties, and when it comes to thermal properties, it is completely similar to other products. And this is actually the last prototype. We have just made it, and it is sheep wool combined with hemp. So we are working also on matching natural materials, which is the real, let's say, aim of the company. Like I said, sheep wool is the main focus because we live in Puglia and we have noticed this big issue and we want to turn it into a research. But let's say the main goal of the company is to work on natural materials and to produce combined products with different natural materials.
Okay, very good. A composite, Peter, please.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I like this kind of developments and technology innovations. It's a good example of biomass valorization, but you do have big challenges there. And with biomass valorization, it's about logistics, seasonality, quality, and quantity. How are you dealing with that? Do you already have a kind of mindset on that?
So just let me go back to, no, not back. Let me go back here. So when it comes to availability of the raw material, we just wanted to highlight, so I didn't have time. So here you can see that we all know that the biggest concentration of sheep wool is in Sardinia. And it all started with sealing a deal with the technical partner of Acustica, which is a company from Sardinia. So we are not we're not afraid at all when it comes to availability of the raw material, and we are also closing different deals like for hemp and other natural materials, like I said, to move forward for the development of the products. Yeah, okay, so let me go back.
So these are good questions as it comes to quality control over time of the product in a biological matrix, as you have obviously the possibility of lots of variation from region to region. So is there a specific thing that you need to focus on in order to maintain a certain specific quality acceptability for yourselves?
Yeah. Okay. So there are no differences between regions, because he was saying that the most important thing to control is actually the washing phase, and this is the reason why we are working on integrating the supply chain. So here you have, the structure of the supply chain that we are trying to promote. So with Acustica as a kind of platform between the consortium of breeders, the washing industrial plants, and the market, because this is the way we intend to supervise and control the quality of the raw material of sheep wool and the other natural materials. So going back to your question, of course there are the biggest, let's say, challenge right now is this one, is to put together all the stakeholders and all the subjects in the supply chain, including to bring a washing plant in Puglia, which is the main, and of course in terms of logistics. But I just wanted to highlight that we have just sealed, so this year has been a very important year for us, because we have sealed a very, very important deal and a collaboration deal with Softex, which is a company from here, Galatone. So very, very close to here. That is a processing plant, and it's now guaranteeing the production of the panels. So we are moving in this direction. We are trying to put together all the subject in order to facilitate all the logistics and to bring the supply chain and reconstruct it here in Puglia.
Okay, we have to stop right there just because of time. But
sure.
So Sara and Leonardo, I'll ask you to step outside of the room just for a few minutes. We have 5 minutes where we have a chance for our investor community to have a quick conversation. That's up to you. You can leave it there, but probably take it with you. Go ahead and take it with you. Thank you, Sara. Thank you, Leonardo. All right, I've put my mask on here so that I can walk out amongst the people. And we have a chance to quickly kind of get some feedback from you as our entrepreneurs step out. The goal here is to give you a chance to speak openly, and this is a chance to share concepts, share ideas amongst us. And we start with the positives. We always start with the positives, and then we'll shift over to the questions. And the reason we call these the questions as opposed to the negatives or concerns is that if we form our critiques or our concerns in the form of a question, there's always the potential for a solution as opposed to a critique. Anyone can be a critic, but to critique in the form of questions is to become a facilitator. And this is what we try to do. We're capturing all of your feedback by typing it up, and we'll return the feedback back to the entrepreneurs anonymized. So we start with the positives, and I open it up to you to hear from you what you liked about the project. We'll stick with what the positives are first. Please raise your hand. I'll bring the microphone to you, and we'll make sure that we hear from you directly. Vivek, did you have a positive you wanted to bring in right away?
More a question for later.
We'll save the questions for the shift, but we'll spend the first few moments on the positives here. You have a positive? Manfred? There we go.
Well, one of the positives is that they fix carbon in a product for a long time, because in construction, the products are stored for decades.
So the sustainability of the product itself in the market?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Other positives? Of course, we always, as Peter mentioned, with the idea of bringing biomass into the construction world, of course, the sustainability of that is very important as well. Certainly, we like the idea of moving something that is currently being discarded, which is actually a bit of a surprise to me that there's less use of wool in the textile industry than before. To see that being reverted into something more useful right now is very good. I look at this as a positive. Anything else from the positive side of the equation? So focusing also on the local community here coming out of Puglia, coming out of this area.
Well, the positive is as the same question. The positive is that they seem to be better in acoustic insulation, but they have no competitive advantage in thermal. So they should focus their business plan on their competitive advantage.
Okay, so that competitive advantage that they need to be able to define well, of course, this is a question as we move forward. So we shift over from the positives and other concerns that we have. So let's open it up to the questions, the comments that are focused on challenges or diligence areas that would need to be addressed in order to better understand this project. Questions? Vivek.
So I think it was briefly mentioned, but it's not clear what is in it for the breeders. So will it be a sustainable feedstock supply? To what extent? If the business grows, will they run out of the wool, and will the breeders then start charging more? So has this been taken into account?
Okay, does the price affected by the impact on the sheep breeders?
Yes, and also what is the supply chain in detail? Because I imagine the sheep owners are individual small farm holders? Is there a consortium? Will this look at a contracted rate for the next 5 years, etc.? And is there enough supply? If the business picks up, then you don't want to run out of feedstock.
Okay, the big scalability question that of course we would have, is supply able to maintain with, if there's a demand increase, can the supply increase match that? And is this something that can be scaled beyond the regional opportunity? Okay, very good. Exactly. Thank you for that. Other questions, comments? Yeah?
Yeah, I think the good thing is they are playing in an area where also hemp has been developed. So I think they can really learn from the mistakes and the development and profit from that to lift on an existing development and see where they play short and where they can gain. So that's more a question or more a kind of recommendation.
So a question on what is the composite between hemp and wool to make a
and learn from the development, the cycle which hemp has gone through.
Okay.
And maybe you can accelerate by using a comparative.
Yeah, very good. All right, so that's a good question. Thank you. Other questions?
3 critical points from my point of view is the first, the fire risk assessment.
Fire risk assessment?
Because we have international regulations based with the ISO standards, and especially the factory mutual accreditation is an international company that specialized in the technological risk. For these applications, the key factors to have this approval for worldwide recognized. The second point is logistics problems, because if you consider only a limitation, because you have this project is based with 9,000 tons a year in Highland, in Italy. The third is obviously the logistic cost and implication is one.
Okay, very good. So you have 2 major questions that need to be answered in the diligence framework. One of them is logistics. How do you move this around? How do you make sure that it has the scalability across let's say national boundaries as well? And then of course certifications for the building materials market. Okay, thank you very much for that. So we stop right there. This is our first project presenting to us, and of course we're playing microphone tag as we move forward, but that's okay. And we have our second project coming up, which is Wakanda. So Fabrizio, come on up. We give you a microphone and the clicker right there. Oh, thank you.
Working? Can you hear me? Okay.
Very good.
So, thank you very much to the organizer for the chance to present our project that actually is an initiative that we already started exactly here in Lecce city. So our aim is that we're going to do the very first biorefinery based on this plant. This is a thornless cactus. This is a punta, ficus indica is called, or prickle pear cactus. And this is one of the plants. We choose this plant because this has one of the highest productivity. So we can produce 4 times more dry matter than maize silage. That is one of the most producing plants. And to produce a single unit, so 1 ton of dry matter of that cactus, we use 10 times less water input than for the production of maize silage. So this is an extremely sustainable. Okay, so our market need, the market that we want to enter are 3 different markets. There are food, feed, and bioenergy. Food, because there are a lot of health-conscious consumers and there are a lot of affluent diseases. And that flour, this is one of the products that we're going to start the production. This is a flour that can be mixed with a regular white wheat flour to have low glycemic index products, extremely healthy. But also the feed market is extremely interesting for us because the Ukraine crisis only accelerated the need for locally available supply chains, and we can produce a high quality protein-rich feed for animals, and also we can produce renewable energy that is available 24/7. So of course in market details, yes, the functional food market is 25 billion size and growing, and that's where we want to enter. And the feed market is worth 50 billion in the EU. And Italy produces 14 million tons of feed, and we have a heavy reliance on extra EU imports that we can cut. And also the energy market, from now to 2030, our government wants to install another 70 gigawatt of renewable energy production. And this is, in detail, what we do. This is, okay, the laser pointer doesn't work, but okay, we start from the cultivation, and that's extremely important. One of our founders and shareholders has a long-term experience in the cultivation of this plant. And then what we do is that we did two key innovations, because this is a plant that is available, everybody knows that, but nobody was working with that because they were missing two things. And one is the mechanical harvest, where we have a patent submission, and then the other one is a system to process the plant, so to ferment it, to transform in a high protein rich feed, and that's the other where we have our patent pending. And then basically we do all these things. So once the biomass is harvested, we fractionated it, and one part we can produce juices, and the other one is flour that you can see it. And we have a competitive advantage because we have heat for free from the residual heat from the biogas plant. And then we do the bioenergy use, so biogas to electricity, and then we have the digestate to increase the soil fertility. And then we make the protein feed that is just taking that plant, squeeze one part out, then we add some urea and some Saccharomyces, and then we have a semi-solid fermentation, and then we increase from 4 to 30% the protein content of the feed. And this is completely sustainable. And then we have, of course, and coming in the future, also nutraceutics and cosmetics. And this initiative, as I said, is already up and running because we purchased it, right? Yesterday we closed the deal through the notary, 40 hectares of land that was an ex-olive orchard that was wiped out from Xylella. We got already from Enel the permission for 300 kilowatt grid injection electricity. And then the permission for the biogas plant has been asked, and we discussed it with the town representative here in Lecce, and they will grant us soon. The biogas plant constructor has been selected, the harvester is under construction, and the patent has been submitting these days, and the same for the process line for producing the feed. And so, in terms of competitor analysis, well, it's the first of a kind, Opuntia biorefinery. So we don't have a real competition on that, but we have, for some selected products, for example, for the Opuntia flour, we checked our production cost and their market price and our market price, and we are 10 times cheaper than them. And so for the protein-rich feed as well, we have some similar products, such as alfalfa, and we are 20 to 30% lower than that, and including a very good margin to sell that. And biomass for energy as well, we are 25 to 50% cheaper than the other ones. For the market entry, of course, we're looking for partnership now in business to business, especially with feed producers and also with mills in Italy and the EU, and for business to consumer, for flour and drink distribution. And then we have a licensing model, and then especially we have an ambition to grow global, because we want to fight climate change at a local level and produce the needed food, feed, and energy where the most is needed, for example, in Africa. And now coming for some economic figures, but this I will be very quickly and we can discuss in detail later. And we have an OPEX combined for the 5 years of roughly 20 million euro, and we have a CAPEX of 4.553 million euro, and it's been partially already also obtained. And now for the return of investment, these are our economic figures, and the most important take-home message is that we are cash positive already on the third year, and we will be a free cash flow from the fifth year, and the return of investment is up to 2030 is 21%. And of course, for our investors, where they can have a revenue participation and value growth, but especially a long-term asset cash flow, and the scalability of the new initiative, wherever the land is cheap and water is scarce. And this is very important for us, because as you can see from this, is that 25% of the world population live in area with extremely high water stress. And this is, for us, extremely good target markets. And partner collaboration, we have a Spaperi that is producing the mechanical harvester, and Omit, that's a company for doing us the process line and the fermenters, and BTS for the construction of the biogas plants. We have a bunch of scientific collaboration. This is Just two are highlighted, University of Rome and Milano. Nestle is waiting a large batch to test in one of their products, Emi Dessert, but also Ferrero you didn't mention here, and business to consumer, we also have already some things. Now the management team is Andrea Ortenzi, that is present here in the audience, is an economist by training, me that I'm a food technologist and industrial biotechnology, then there is my wife, Claudia Cusan, and she will be R&D director, and Cesario Piccino, that is somebody with a boot on the ground, is the man really with experience in cultivating that plant here in Lecce already, Federico Fiorentino, our commercial director, and Alessandro Vox, our chief financial officer. And we have a nice advisory board, especially with Professor Bruce Dale, that is a distinguished professor at Michigan State University, that is one of the leading experts in bioenergy, and he is really, really happy and excited from this project. And so, as we said, what we did, we just systematized the already existing knowledge and patented the two key aspects. And with this, I'm closed, and so we want to fight climate change at local level. We want to make sustainable food, feed, and bioenergy, and we are scalable, and we can use poor and abandoned or degraded soil. I'm ready to take your questions.
All right, Fabrizio, thank you very much. Okay, stay here. All right, we open it up for questions from you, the audience, and so you have a chance to get your questions answered right now. So let's start right here.
You consider the benchmarking with other type of cultivation, such as Arundodonax example?
Sorry, such as?
Arundodonax.
Yes, but Arundodonax, it's a very poor forage, and also it's a very poor plant for bioenergy, because we've seen in Crescentino how the company went to bust. I mean, I have a long experience in bioenergy, and so we can discuss later in more detail why, but basically the problem with Arundodonax in Crescentino is that the price that was offered to the farmer was not enough for them, and this was a perennial crop with a single use. We have a perennial crop, of course, but we have multiple kind of uses that we can do.
It's not true, because if you have Arundodonax, the clone 31, based with the...
Clone Padano, I know it, yes.
Exactly. Then you have more or less 40, 50 tons dry biomass per hectares after 1 year or 2 years.
Yes.
Then the content, the energy content, in this case is so high, much better than, I think, I don't know exactly in your case, but it's very, very efficient, especially if you consider that not biogas production, but also biohydrogen production. Thank you.
Yes, I know, but I mean, we produce 1,000 tons of fresh matter per hectare per year with the 8% dry matter, so we make 1,000 tons fresh matter per hectare per year, and so we make 80,000 tons of dry matter per hectare per year. Yeah.
Okay, another question. All of the, he likes that one. All of the economics that you showed here are for a single facility.
For a single plant.
Correct?
For this single initiative, this 40-hectare plot of land. That
do you see this as a distributable technology package for sale to other farms?
Absolutely. So our let's say hope or model and so on is that really to have this first 40 hectare as a showcase, and then to apply this initiative also on a larger scale.
And what type of regions are available for the growing of this prickly pear plant?
So this plant grows almost from -7 degrees to +50 degrees, and where you have a rain-fed millimeter, let's say ideal is from 400 to 800 millimeter, can be slightly more than that, but you need to take some precautions, because the only fear that this plant has is that if water stays for more than 1 week on its roots, then it starts to die.
So it can drown, but it's, it grows very well in arid conditions with good humidity in the air. Other questions? Yes, Peter.
You mentioned different applications for the products. So all of them have different technology readiness levels, different market challenges. You need them all to be successful to build this business case?
Well, I mean, this is a very interesting thing. So in terms of technology readiness level, what we did is that we combined already some existing things. So the technological risk is almost non-existent, and the technology readiness level, I would say it at least 8. Because our harvester, of course, will be the first ever mechanical harvester for this. But speaking with the guy that has this company that produces agricultural machines, he said, look, for me, it's technology readiness level 8. Then I will come to do few check once this is running some hours. But I said, but basically, I'm ready to produce this in a serial and to export it worldwide.
And I noticed that the image that you had of the harvester was blurred out. Is that because you have
because it's under patenting, yeah.
Patented technology, very good.
Thank you. Hi, nice presentation. I have a question regarding the actual technology readiness level of the fermentation.
So the fermentation, it is done already at technology readiness level 9 in Mexico, but under very poor condition. I was discussing yesterday with Manfred that knows something about biotechnology like me. I have a PhD in industrial biotechnology. So when I've seen this fermentation, how the Mexicans were doing it, and they have also a bunch of published data available and so on. So I said, well, we can do way better than that, and in fact we discussed it with this company. It's called Omit, is in Roma, and we come up with really, I mean, it's not something really so, I mean, it's not rocket science, this thing. It's just a special continuous screw
so there have
that
been
I rated specially, and this is also under patenting.
Okay, so you have some technology developed there to essentially create a quality stream that's reproducible.
To be declared TRL8 at
One
least.
last question for you for this type of project that you're building, the first project that you have. Do you already have financial backing from an institution?
So, no, from an institution, not. So we
Fabrizio, you come to talk to us afterwards, right?
Okay.
So we have Intesa Sanpaolo as the perfect partner for you in this path. All right, Fabrizio, thank you very much. Excellent presentation, great project. So I will ask Fabrizio to step outside for just a few minutes while we have a chance to do a quick recap and discussion, just a few minutes where we talk about the positives, then we can shift over to the questions, and I want to get your feedback on this as we move through the day here. So we start with the positives always. So what do we see as the positives in this particular project? Anyone can raise their hand on this, but Manfred, we start with you. Okay.
Well, this is true bioeconomy they are doing. True bioeconomy. What I little miss is the focus of the company. There are many applications, many potentials, but what is the focus?
Okay, so we have a good bioeconomy project, but we have some questions, and that'll shift over onto the question side about core focus of an early stage company, because this is always the challenge, to make sure that we have a direct focus on making sure we have economic sustainability right away before getting diversified into multiple different projects. Great question, but also a great comment. This is absolutely one of those pathways to circular bioeconomy where we have a product that in California, this plant, this prickly pear, is considered a pest, a weed, something that grows out of control. So the opportunity to turn that waste product, or that product that is essentially an irritation, into something extremely positive is very, very interesting. Other positives. So I like the fact that they have already put some intellectual property into this. They have a duplicatable process that I think that could work very well with the graphic that I showed you a little bit earlier, where you can see the venture capital side supporting the startup. You can see the institutional financing of banks being able to support the customers, where you could see that right now there are 1,200 biogas plants in Italy alone, 18,000 across Europe, most of them in Germany, that you could see these types of institutional financing for customer acquisition of this kind of technology be extensive. And so these are projects that I look at as being highly distributable, even though it's an infrastructure style project, can be highly distributable. Any other positives? Questions?
CO2 sequestration, because if the the production for ether is so high, obviously this correlation of the CO2 is very, very, very good in terms of the sustainability.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That's a good positive. We add that to the record. Any questions, concerns, diligence areas, comments in this direction?
I think the question was also asked about the fermentation and the protein business. There's really a high need for alternative proteins, and it's not that easy to get high yield. So I'm really curious how they accomplish it and how they prove it and how it's the scalabilities of this process, the fermentation and purification process.
All right, excellent. Thank you for that. We'll put that into the record as well. Fermentation is a diligence area that needs to be addressed to understand the efficiencies of this as well. What else? Any other comments, questions, concerns?
What is the cost for hectares in this type of cultivation? How many? What is the minimum size? 10 hectares, 50 hectares, or for? Thank you.
All right, so really the question about what is the optimal size of a farm to be able to produce enough to make it economically efficient. Excellent.
Well, Fabrizio told us that he's cheaper in feed production, 20 to 30%, but he didn't tell us anything about the quality concerning amino acids, vitamins, and so on.
Okay, so to produce it with the right, with the best possible or highly optimized biological components in there, what would be needed to make that happen? So that's a great question as well. So that's fertilization or fertigation or whatever needs to be done to produce the right product. Okay, thank you. We'll stop right there. We'll move to our next presenter, Galatea. And we can allow for Fabrizio to come back in here, but we'll bring Stefano Bertagnoli up. And the remote is right there, Stefano. Good. All right, Galatea.
Okay. Good morning to everybody. I'm Stefano Bertagnoli, Senior Researcher of Galatea Biotech, a spin-off of the University of Milano Bicocca. Galatea Biotech aim is to transform the linear economy to circular economy for the production of fine and bulk chemicals. We are focused on the production of bioplastic. Today, I'm going to talk about the PLA bioplastic bioprocessing production. The bioplastics are all the plastics that are not conventional plastics. The conventional plastics are all the plastics that are not biodegradable and derive from fossil resources. We are focusing on PLA, polylactic acid, PLA because it's a very virtuous polymer because it can be bio-based and at the end of life is completely biodegradable. The bioplastic value chain is very complex and it is composed by several segments from raw materials to final usage, and Galatea is placed in the segment of R&D with the first solution, the PLA production bioprocess, and the PLA compounding segment with the second solution of PLA compounding. For the first solution of bioprocess for the production of PLA, the PLA is a well-known polymer since the mid of the last century when it was produced starting from fossil resources, and through petrochemistry reaction it was produced the monomer lactic acid. Then the monomer was polymerized by a chemical reaction to PLA. Today the production is more sustainable, starting from biomass, but from dedicated crops like maize and sugar cane. And through a biotechnological fermentation step, it is produced the monomer lactic acid. However, the polymerization is still conducted with the chemical traditional reaction. The solution of Galatea Biotech is a much more sustainable production bioprocess that's starting from biomass but from byproducts, and through just one biotechnological fermentation step we are able to produce directly the PLA with no chemical steps. For this bioprocess Galatea holds the patent. The technology of our bioprocess, starting from residual biomass to prepare the best medium for the step of fermentation. In the step of fermentation, we use our core technology yeast that is engineered with 3 enzymatic activity for the direct conversion of sugars released from the biomass directly to the PLA. The PLA is accumulated inside the cells, and through a downstream step of extraction and purification, we are able to produce PLA pure powder. To close the circularity of the bioprocess, all the wastes of the entire bioprocess will be redirected to anaerobic digestion for production of energy and fertilizer. With our bioprocess, we are able also to produce the enantiomeric pure form L or D. The second solution is the PLA compounding, where Galatea want to produce new sustainable compounds, starting from PLA, 100% bio-based, 100% biodegradable, and 100% compostable, using and developing new eco-friendly additives. The competitors in the PLA production are usually big companies and corporations, but our value proposition is the process sustainability, where we get us in a competitive position against the other companies, but these competitors are not only competitors, but also potential partners for the development of the entire bioprocess to go to commercial production. The market and competitors for the compounding lines, just in Italy, involve 21 companies that are usually small and medium enterprises with a total revenue of 275 million euros per year. The roadmap to go to market with our bioprocess solution for the production of PLA, starting from 2022 with the laboratory validation process and through laboratory scale-up, improving downstream, piloting and pilot scale-up, we want to reach the 2026 with development of pilot plant. The return of investment of this roadmap is licensing, IP selling, a percentage on consultancy. The roadmap to go to market for the PLA compounding line, starting in 2022, at the end of the year, we want to go to market with a new formulation of compound to sell on the market. The journey of Galatea Biotech started in 2013 with the Galatea birthday, and the principal milestone of the company passed through 2014 with starting with our PLA bioprocess R&D, and passed through the 2020 seed capital funding, where a company management innovation get involved in our companies, and in 2021 with an equity crowdfunding where we raised 600,000 euros. The next goal for the Galatea Biotech is for the next year will be 2 funding projects, one with the autonomous province of Trento for 2.5 million euros project, and one with the autonomous region of Sardinia for a 10 million project in 2023. The next step for the development of our business line will be in the 2023 the compounding pilot production and reach the 2025 with a compounding commercial production. At the end, at the 2026, like I said before, we want to develop a PLA bioprocess pilot production with our technology. The bioplastic market in 2021 worth $7 billion and is estimated to grow to $15 billion in 2028 with an annual growth rate of 10%. The global production of bioplastics will grow by 314% in the next 5 years and will increase of 72% just in PLA production. The PLA market value in 2021 $0.6 billion and is estimated to grow to $2.3 billion in 2028 with an annual growth rate of 16%. Our team is composed by full professor and expert manager like our CEO, and by me and my colleague Laura Giaretta that manage all the operations, the application operations. And Galatea Biotech at the end is a solution to sustainable, fully bio-based bioplastic manufacturing. Thanks for the attention.
All right, Stefano, well done. Thank you very much for that presentation, and we open it up for questions right here, right now. And so let me ask the first question. With the control over the processes that you have through this particular application, can you also tune the PLA for very specific properties at the end of the production? So can you have different hardness, different porosity, different types of tuned properties?
Okay. At the moment, we are not able to tune the PLA because we are developing a method to follow the accumulation and the characteristics of the PLA inside our cells. And at the moment, we are not able to measure directly for example, the molecular weight and the characteristic of the PLA outside the cells. We are just able to purify with the laboratory method, but we cannot redo the same condition for every fermentation that we did.
Okay, so that may be a thing of the future, but not yet in the tunability. Questions? Go ahead and shout it out, and I'll repeat the question. Or here comes a microphone, so make it easy for you.
Hello. Do you have an estimate of the minimum viable industrial scale production for your product?
I don't hear.
Do you have an estimate for the minimum viable industrialization size? So how big or small do you need to be in order to be economically viable?
Okay. At the moment, we didn't do any assessment about this because we are in the very early stage of the scale up of the bioprocess. But we want to develop in our mind a pilot plant, just a pilot plant of 1,500 liters.
So 1,500 liters at this point, and then do you see the industrialized size being 2, 3, 5 times, 10 times bigger than that?
For the commercial size I think that is 100 times more.
The pilot plant. Yeah. Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay. Very good. Other questions? Vivek.
What is your exit strategy? What is the end game?
Exit strategy?
Yeah.
Okay. So at the moment we think to develop the bioprocess to scale up in the industrial phase, and then we want to find an industrial partner to develop the commercial phase and to sell our licensing, because at the moment we are too small to think about a commercial step or commercial scale.
Do you have these partners in mind? Because you're competing, but in some cases also collaborating with the large companies.
We in our mind we think to the biggest chemical companies, but at the moment we have not interaction with these companies because we are.
Okay, so you're looking for those introductions and networking to be able to come up with the best partners there. So here's another question for you along the same lines. Right now, your timeline is based on a few million euros over the next couple of years through these grants. What would you change if you had more capital? If you had 10 million, 20 million euros, what would you do differently with that timeline and your pathway?
Okay. This kind of, the development of this bioprocess is very capital intensive, especially because the biotechnological directly production of PLA at the moment is not on the market as the best of our knowledge. With much more money, we can hire more professional figures, and we think that we can short the time to go to market because we can work.
Okay, so you could accelerate the process significantly with more capital.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so that's the question. Other questions? All right, we stop right there. That's perfect. Stefano, thank you very much. Galateo Biotech, thank you. Okay, so we'll ask you to go ahead and step outside just briefly while we do our recap and discussion. And so we have a chance again for our audience to participate. We'll ask you the questions. We'll ask you to participate starting with the positives, then we'll shift over to the questions and concerns. So what did you like about this particular project? The positives first.
I think the positive and maybe also a question is on the feedstock. So if you can make it really feedstock agnostic, so using multiple different feedstocks, then it's a really asset of the process.
Okay, that's a very good positive. And of course we have Fabrizio here who's thinking about this through the lens of the prickly pear that he just showed us. The idea that different feedstocks could still produce using tuned kind of biotechnology processes to come up with the PLA with, reducing that chemical step component. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe the other one on the fermentation. If you really can make directly from the biomass PLA, that will really save money compared to the lactic acid and then additional polymerization steps. So that's also a big asset. Time to production, less capital intensive, less costly.
Very good. We'll come to the back.
Sorry, are we still on the positive?
Oh my goodness. All right, any other positives that we wanted to capture? Questions?
So because I wanted to disagree with accepting blindly that this integrated and consolidated production is necessarily good. Because as we all know, polymer science is all about tuning the polymerization of your polymer. And until I do not see that the whole project is focusing on knowing exactly what's coming out and therefore modulating size and industrialization. If you do something for a tiny high added value cosmetic production, is something. If you do something to do plastic forks, is something else. And I believe this has to be clear from the very beginning.
Okay. All right, excellent question. And these are the types of questions that we definitely need to have answers to in order to understand the investability and the process for development. If you are going to remove steps and you don't yet have tunability of the final characterization of the final product, do you need to maybe add steps back in? Great questions. Definitely need diligence style answers to these types of questions. All right, other questions, comments, challenges?
Yeah, one question. I don't understand the compounding part. So what makes it unique compared to other PLAs? And it's a completely different area of technology. So I don't understand why they focus on that. So it's a question, what is the background of focusing compounding as well?
Okay, that's I don't understand quite the question, but maybe that's just my limitation, not your, that's my limitation on trying to understand it. But what is the point, what is the purpose of the compounding? Okay. Okay. All right, so coming up with the right type of final product, what is the compounding challenges that need to be addressed? Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it, Peter. Other comments? Yes, coming at you.
So when it comes to PLA or PHA, in general, biopolymers, the scale tend to be 100 million euros at break even. So we start a little bit suspicious when we see this type of materials. We know, of course, Galatea as a good company, but in that field, really niche applications will be necessary, or a lot of grants to get through the valley of death. We're a bit concerned on the scale,
okay, so
break-even scale.
You need to see a significantly larger investment and
yeah.
a significantly larger project.
And I think you noticed that when there were questions on the minimum reactor size or minimum scale for break-even, there was a bit of uncertainty there.
Thank you very much for that comment. This is quite common in the challenges that we see. For many of these types of projects to be successful on a global scale, the globe is a big place, which means that you need to have big ambitions, and that means that you need to have big investment backers to get to the point of world class. And this is what we're targeting as we look at ROI as well. Other comments, questions? Okay, we stop right there. We move to our next presenter, as I'm falling behind. All right, we bring up Fortunale. Where is Fortunale? Ah, excellent. Good. Okay, Ivan Alosio. Yes. Come on up. This? Yes. And you have your pointer right there if you need it, or the remote.
Good morning. Oh, thank you.
Fortunale.
Hi, I'm Ivan Aloisio, the founder of Fortunale, the first 100% natural sweater. Oops, what? Okay. Fortunale project was born from the 25 years of experience in textile sector of founder Ivan Aloisio, it's me. After the birth of my son, Jacopo, I decided to create a fashion benefit startup based on 3 principles: sustainability, circular economy, and made in Italy. Which is the problem? The environmental impact of the textile sector is the second most polluting sector in the world. Nobody knows this news. It produces 5.8 billion tons of waste per year and uses 20% of good water of the planet. There are also an health impact, the increase in skin diseases due to tissue dying, and also the loss of quality. The faster the fashion, more the quality decrease. Only 1% of the 90.5 billion of garments produced every year is recycling. So which is the solution that we propose? 100% natural sweaters, 100% organic yarns. We use only a very high quality wool obtained from cruelty-free farms, 100% natural dyeing process from flowers, from roots, and from plants, and 100% made in Italy. The garments are made in Italy by a dedicated laboratory. Fortunale is also a circular economy company. Our packaging is plastic-free, reusable, and recyclable. I want to show you. This is our packaging. And also the sweater is recyclable up to the 70% of the fibers. The customer can return his sweater to the company, obtain a 30% discount buying a new one. One sweater, one tree. For each sweater, Fortunale plants a tree. The sweater became exclusive thanks to the numbery embroidery on the back of the pullover. Last season, we planted more than 600 pomegranates in land confiscated to the mafia here in Puglia. Now we are going to plant another 46 trees. Which is the result, the product? We Fortunale born a new idea of sustainable luxury, a soft and precious garment capable to expressing beauty while respect nature and quality. You can see some models like the article I addressed today. Our traction, Fortunale launched 2 crowdfund campaigns on Kickstarter platform. With this result, we obtained in the first campaign 26,000 euro with 161 supporters, 40,000 euro in the second campaign with 2,026 supporters. Now we sell by our e-commerce and by sustainable marketplace. We have also a survey to our customer, 85% recommended Fortunale, 73% wish to purchase again. The market trade of sustainable product is going up year by year. I have some number, plus 42% purchase from customer, plus 78% demand in Italy. Very important, 88% of consumer who focus on sustainable fashion post-COVID-19. Sorry. Our competitor, we have many competitors like Rebello, Revolution, Arnit, Babarifo, but nobody has the same value of Fortunali. Biological fibers, natural dyed, circular economy, plastic-free, and plant-free. Natural dyed, only Fortunali makes this kind of technology. We are the only one. We wish to create a Fortunali platform in which each customer, each supporter can see all the supply chain. Choose the organic wool for his taste, choose natural colors. The e-commerce evolution can have a virtual tailor, localization of the tree, and all the supply chain should be traceability by blockchain. Go to market, how we go to market? We want to make a marketing strategy from promoting our e-commerce. I have some number. 22 minutes of project presentation in the Fabio Volo broadcast. We make 72 orders with 8,000 revenue. The winter social campaign 2021, we have a very low budget, only 1,000 euro. We have revenue for 7,000 euro. Also, the community Fortunale is still followed us. We have revenue for 80,000 euro in 3 months. Execution plan. We are searching for 500,000 euro to make 4 targets. Reinforcement of Fortunale brand, enlargement of the team with new skills, new web platform, and also research, because we want to make research for new biological and organic fibers and new natural dyed. This is our roadmap. We are searching not just in this year 200,000 euro to start with the marketing launch. The team, we are 4 people working on this project all the time. Ivan Aloisio, I have 25 years experience in sector of textile. Francesca Gresia, communication manager. Luigina Cianciola, art director. She degraded in art and moda to Florence. And Melania Grandolfo, graduated in marketing and business communication. Also, the advisor is very important for us, Gianluca Sardella. We meet him during the mentor of social innovation team's work. During this year, we make a lot of startup competition. We win some awards, QVC Corporate Fast Track, second prize on startup competition. We collaborate with some university, like University of Bari, and we have the honor to present our project at Montecitorio conference room. Fortunale, 100% natural. I'm very quick.
Perfect.
I forget to show you how we present our article without plastic, without anything synthetic.
I'm ready to buy one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have many in my box.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, Ivan, thank you very much for that presentation. We open it up for questions from the audience. We'll start right here with Vivek.
Thank you. Could you elaborate a bit on your recycling? Do you break down, is it fractionation? Do you break down the materials again and completely recycle, or what's behind that?
No, we use organic wool at first time.
Yeah.
Then when we receive back the garments used, we go to recycle these fibers. Till 70% of is the fiber, so very good quantity, and we will make a new line with recyclable fibers.
And it
at the moment, no. At the moment, no.
Thank you.
So the second generation of the wool has a different line of products, is that correct?
Exactly. We need a big quantity of returns garments, and then we can start with the new line, new collection of recyclable fibers.
And do you have the processes for that recovery of those used products already, so that you have a collection?
Yes, we are receiving many articles at the moment, many garments. We make difference for color, blue with blue, red with red, and then when we have the quantity, we can start with the recyclable
But is this
project.
something where you ask your customers to mail it to you or to ship it to you in some way, or is this a drop-off point for?
No, when they buy the new article and they receive the new article from the carrier, they give to the carrier the old one. So in one delivery, we deliver it and receive the old.
Okay, so they can ship it back to you in the packaging that was originally sent. Okay.
And they receive discount. They receive 30% discount.
Just a follow-on. Do you see the application in some other industry other than textiles once you receive the material back?
So do you see an application for the recovered material in other applications, other industries?
Maybe.
We just heard about wool being used in the insulation.
Yes, maybe in the future. At the moment, we can use this kind of fibers for our line, because the high quality of the yarn give us the possibility to use this fiber 2 or 3 times. Sure for 2, 3 maybe. I will check. The quality is a little lower in the second line, but the price should be lower too. So we are in.
Okay, so you have a chance to have a relationship with Hakustika.
Yes, we just speak
okay, very
before.
good. See, the collision of technologies is happening right here in the room today. Other questions? So along these lines, this is one of those questions that we had for other projects, which is how do you scale up to the point where it becomes economically sustainable with an interesting ROI for investors? What is the plan for expanding this kind of approach? Because this sounds like there's a certain amount of luxury fashion focus on this project. Yes?
We are sure to have to can sell a lot in Europe, all over the world, because during the crowdfunding, more than 50% of our customers are from United States, Canada, Germany. So if we can find the economical resource to make a marketing campaign in this area, we are sure to sell, because we can offer organic wool, natural dyed, but also made in Italy. It's very important. So we are starting with our personal investment. We can have the breakpoint maybe on around 100,000 euro revenue for a year. We just have the breakpoint.
Okay, so another question on that lines, which I think we've talked about in the past. You have anti-mafia, you have recycling, you have natural products, you have natural dyes, and multiple different areas where you're touching on. These are social issues that are very important to people, and then on the end of that you have a beautiful product.
Thank you.
How much can you charge for this product, an individual sweater or an individual product, to position this in that luxury space? Because I could see an American buyer paying $1,000 for a sweater if it meets their social impact goals along with the fashion itself.
Yes, I mean, about us, luxury is different from the price of the article. For us, luxury is the quality, is the social impact, is the environment impact. We sell our sweater for 200 euro. Is luxury? I think no. In the United States of America, it's not luxury, or in Germany, it's not luxury. It's at the right price for the quality and for our social projects. Maybe in the future should be also more economically, but we think that we have the right position about our value and our price.
Okay, and in the 200 euro range at this point.
200 euro range, yes, for high quality wool.
Other questions? Okay, we stop right there. We're going to go into our recap and discussion. So, Ivan, thank you very much for that presentation of Fortunale. And we'll ask you to go ahead and step outside for just a few minutes.
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
Thank you for your attention. Sorry for my English. I speak very...
perfect. Your English was perfect.
It should be better. Thank you. Bye.
And you have your shop will be in the break room afterwards, so we'll be able to buy sweaters right here. Okay, we open it up for our recap and discussion, and of course we start with the positives. We'll have Ivan go. You can come back in 5 minutes.
I can start talking about the weather, or no sweater. So I think that here we see, as usual, that luxury and style are paving the way for the others. And the positive thing I see here is that in this particular case, the company is trying to do something people speak about and very few dare to do, which is introducing producer responsibility in the end of life of the product. You know, we talk a lot about producer responsibility and relieve consumer from this responsibility. They are putting it as an element of their business case, which I think is a positive thing.
Very good. This sounds a lot like Patagonia. Yvon Chouinard is very focused on the idea that if someone comes in to buy a new Patagonia item from his stores, the first question they ask is, what's wrong with your old one? Do you really need a new one? And if you do, then you have to turn in your old one in order to get a new one. So Patagonia has kind of modernized this concept, but certainly this is a positive social piece. Actually, from a positive perspective, I look at this and I actually think this has more price flexibility, especially at the level of near customization, to have your own sweater specific, to have a tree planted in your name, to take over a mafia-focused plot of land, the recycling, all of these pieces together, I think could maybe command a higher price. But this is a test that would need to be understood. So this is a positive. It's also a question. Other positives, other thoughts on this? So this is also a chance where you see the wool category being reviewed in an interesting way. All right, from a questions perspective, what do we have from a questions perspective? Other challenges, certainly the scalability question is one of those challenges that we would put to them. I also look at this and think, what could you do if you had more capital to expand? So this is an area where I always look at this scalability opportunity. Questions, comments, anecdotes, stories from your childhood? What else? Okay, we stop right there. We move to our next presenter as we move through this day quickly, as we move to introduce the projects to you. But then we move to a lunch afterwards where we have a chance to interact with all of the presenters who are here for us today. So we bring up BioInitaly. Dario Monti, come on up. Microphone and remote is right there. You can take that one. All right, Dario, let's hear about BioInitaly. You have 8 minutes. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. I will introduce you BioInitaly, which is located not far from here, just 1 hour and a half. Let's start from the problem. So actually, we found that the treatment of wastewater from olive oil is a big issue. We are speaking about 30 billion liters per year produced all over the world, 98% in the Mediterranean area. And only in this region we have almost 1,000 million liters of wastewaters. One of the issues is that, especially in Italy, for example, among all producers, 20% is not compliant to the law. These are waste and are difficult to treat, and the result is often an illegal disposal that you can see in some of the pictures. We have a lot of water because for each kilogram of olive that is treated in the production of olive oil, we have 1 kilogram of water. So 1 kilogram of olive and 1 kilogram of water. Today is quite simple how the wastes are treated, but there are no economic benefit, is not a sustainable way, and there are stringent limits due to the law. You can spread on the ground only 5 liters each square meters per year. For this reason, there are also some requirements from the law. The farmland need to be planned free from culture, owned by the producer and registered. This is a very time-consuming and tough way to handle this kind of wastes. So BioInitaly developed a solution to the problem. The solution is our technology, which is a patented technology. We start from the wastewater that are coming out of the process in the production of olive oil. We collect for free the wastewater from the olive oil producer. We get 3 different phases from the process. The first one is a solid one, which can become compost and go back to the ground. Or we can transform the compost into biogas. At the moment, we are focusing on the compost. Then we have a second phase, which is water, and the water as well is going back to the field. And the most important is the third one. The third one is what we call MOMAST, that is our brand name for the mixture of actives that we extract from the wastewaters, which can find many different applications in different industries. And then I will show you something more. So basically, the process has quite a number of advantages. The first one is that we start from a cultivar that is Coratina, typical from this area, which is very high in the content of polyphenols, which are the molecules that we basically extract from the wastewaters. We are plenty of raw material, almost 1 billion liters only in this region. We don't use any solvent or chemical product. We start from GMO-free raw materials and also organic raw materials. Everything that comes in the process then is reused and recovered. We already have a pilot plant that is already running production for several of our customers that are using the product in their final products. This is a high added value product, so we had to study a lot about the properties. We have a few numbers of cooperation with scientific partners, and we already have 20 papers that speaks about the property of MOMAST. Well, polyphenols are quite known family of molecules with antioxidant properties. We made a lot of studies on the MOMAST, and then we found out the most important results that came out roughly 12, 16 months ago, which is that MOMAST is a powerful cholesterol reductor. So basically, among all the applications that we found for the MOMAST, from nutraceutical and pharmaceutical, food and feed, and cosmetics, we focused mainly in the food supplement industry. Just to show you some numbers, you can see that we have a total cholesterol reduction. We have a reduction in the ratio between good and bad cholesterol. And also we have a reduction in the ratio between triglycerides and HDL. Besides this, we also found out that there are no side effects, and is confirmed that the product is absorbed at intestinal level, which is quite important for active molecules. Then, also the European Union supported, let's say, the marketing of the MOMAS, because in May last year, it was launched a consultation on the most popular active ingredient for food supplements that fight cholesterol, which is the moleculin K found in red yeast, fermented red yeast rice. And starting from this summer, the content of this active will be reduced below 3 milligrams per day. And this means that this active will not work anymore as it was doing, because in the past it was used up to 10 milligrams per day. This is a huge market because we are speaking about $5 million, 10,000 metric tons on the market worldwide. And this market now is looking for alternatives. And that's why we are taking studies in vivo in order to demonstrate that the MOMAS is the best candidate to this substitution. And after summer, you will already find in the pharmacies new products with the MOMAS logo on it from the most important producer of food supplements based in Italy. This is our team. This is what we did up to now and what we are planning to do. Up to now, total investment were roughly 2 million to develop the plant, the process, to focus on the R&D, and to set up the strategy. Then we are looking for 1 million or something. This amount will be used mainly for plant scale-up, then for market development, and also for R&D, which is very costly and time-consuming for this kind of application. These are just few numbers about what we plan to do with the upgrade of the actual plant, and what we are planning to do tomorrow with a bigger plant. Basically, we can summarize our project saying that we turn a waste into a product, a cost into a profit, solving an environmental and health issue with a circular economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dario. All right, once again, we have a chance to open it up for questions from you about the specific project. And so we start BioNutra is Manfred right here.
Dario, congratulations. You are entering the nutraceutical business, which is a very attractive business, but it's difficult to reach the consumers. So you have the feedstock, you have the production plant. Do you plan to partner with a brand owner, for example, to reach the end consumer?
Okay, so the question is, how do you really go to market? Is this your customers? Are they large brands of pharmaceutical or nutraceuticals or cosmetics? How do you get to them?
Yeah, basically, of course, this is a B2B market, so our customers are the big pharma companies or nutraceutical companies. We are already in touch with the majority of them, especially in Italy. We have contacts with more than 300 companies, from the smaller to the bigger. And of course, there is some of the work need to be done by the producer of the final product, because they have to take care of marketing, introducing the product into the pharmacy, which is quite expensive. And it's not surprising that our biggest customer and the customer that brought the product to the market faster were, of course, the biggest companies we approached that were really interested in that, because for them, the cholesterol is a huge business, is a always growing business, and they were afraid to lose the share of the market which was done with the red rice yeast. That was the active that before was mentioned on the packaging as a claim.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, very good. Let's move over to Peter here. Right there. Thank you.
Yeah, just interested, is the technology also usable for other waste streams, like olive oils, but you have also other streams which contain polyphenols?
Yes,
grapes, etc.?
Yes, the answer is yes. This technology, this is a physical technology we can adapt to different raw materials, to different wastes. So in the past, we already started on paper the possibility to work, for example, the wastes coming from artichoke, the wastes coming from tomatoes, the wastes coming from grape. These are some of the substrates you can start with. At the moment, I have to say that we focused only on the waste from olive oil because the R&D that is behind the marketing of this product is so expensive that we need really to narrow and to focus on a specific mixture of actives and a specific application. That in this case, for example, is cholesterol reduction. But we already have also some, for example, skincare products that contain the MOMAST. But for us, it's really a very small part of the business. The majority is this food supplements.
Okay, thanks.
Very good question, very good answer. Okay, other questions? All right, so right now you are selling the final product. You're selling your polyphenols or you're selling your the output. Do you see the future as being selling that final product or selling the manufacturing facilities, the plants?
No, at the moment the focus is selling this molecule to the producer of the final product that is going to the market, and this is the business. Then we already started and in the past also discussed with some companies the licensing of the technology, because you can imagine that only in Puglia you could build up like 650 plants considering the amount of raw material you have. So you can think that each producer of olive oil could have a small plant integrated into the actual plant that is producing olive oil, and then we take the MOMAST and we bring the MOMAST to the market. So this is an option, but at the moment the business of BioInitaly is producing the MOMAST and selling the MOMAST to the one that is formulating the product.
Okay, very good. Any last questions? All the way in the back. There we go.
Hi.
Hi.
Very nice. I've known this for some time. It's very good. But I can see you have plans to scale up substantially your production, so in the thousands of tons scale. And I believe, I mean, can you convince me that you have a robust solution for handling your own waste? Because even though you're making compost, it turns out it's not so easy to place compost, anywhere.
So yeah, the compost distribution that you have right now, does that compost need to be treated or mechanically or biologically before it can be placed on a field?
This is done by the company that is taking care of the raw for the compost. So the phase one, the solid phase of the product,
yes,
is not something BioInitaly is doing directly.
Okay, so you have a partner that's essentially
yes,
taking your dry waste or the
yes,
solid waste
correctly,
and then either
yes,
converting it or managing it for compost.
Exactly.
Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, we stop right there for the Q&A. Thank you very much.
You're
Dario,
welcome.
nicely done. Okay. All right, again, Dario, we ask you to step outside for just a few minutes while we do our recap and discussion, and we can go down into the group here and see if there are positives and or questions. We'll start with the positives. And BioInitaly has left the building, or left the room at least, for just a few minutes, and we have a chance to talk amongst ourselves here. So we start with the positives. What did you like about this particular project, Manfred?
Well, I like to isolate and to use and apply highly efficient bioactives from waste materials.
Okay, being able to use those biomaterials directly, this is excellent, all right, and certainly in the pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, and other communities. What else? Other positives? All right, this is definitely one of those areas where the waste material as it's currently being used is absolutely toxic. So the distribution of olive oil waste historically has been extremely destructive. So the idea of converting this into a positive with pure water coming out of one side solid waste that can be converted into compost and other products is certainly a positive waste to product direction, and so the circular economy focus, circular bioeconomy focus is certainly met. What other positives do we have here? I actually like the question that Peter asked here about different raw materials. So right now, olive oils, but certainly as you go to grapes, tomatoes, oranges, other things that have this have similar challenges, this is also very positive. Anything else? All right, the one last piece that I would say on the positive side, yes, today they are selling the final product, but I could certainly see this, as he described, as being scaled down to the point where it can be distributed. To me, that creates a very interesting technological business that can be grown at the level of distributed production, essentially distributing your production facilities out to the point of use, which is, to me, one of the more interesting pieces about a project like this is that it can be distributed across multiple different countries, across multiple different agricultural products. So this is, to me, pretty interesting as you look at the technology itself as the, as the opportunity. Any last comments, questions, concerns, diligence areas? Certainly the volume of solid waste, that was a great question that we want to keep. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, we move to our last presenter for the day, and that's Mogu. Stefano? All right, come on up. Yes, yeah, no, it's okay.
It's okay?
I think it's okay.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Stefano Babini, please take it away.
Here we go. If you don't mind, I will avoid the mask, just for my comfort. There is some distance in any case. My name is Stefano Babini. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Mogu. And today I'm going to present the evolution of Mogu, which is basically Scheme. Scheme is a material innovation company that focuses on the production of new materials and products produced using biotechnology. I guess I need this one, correct? Sorry. Okay, here we go. So what we use is mycelium. Mycelium is basically the fibers and the structure of fungi, the fungi roots. And moreover, mycelium is the ideal biofabrication engine because it grows very fast. The structure that it can create is really strong, and it grows in a low value feedstock at certain conditions that are basically very low. And basically what we employ is a very low input process. It's absolutely into the circular economy concept, considering the fact that, again, our target is also to valorize low value fibers coming from other industries. The process is fast and can be scaled using the vertical farming approach. And moreover, finally, it matches very well with all the sustainability, because here we are talking about biomaterials that can be used for specific market segments. The main target today is the leather alternative. Alternative leather is a market that is quite capable. The total addressable market in front of us is around 60 billion worldwide. Just to give you an estimation, in Italy, we represent 20% of the global market, just in Italy. And, well, we are at a certain starting point, considering that, well, it's composed, the breakdown is mostly animal leather, around 45 billion today worldwide. Then there is a portion of the synthetic leather that we can hit. And today, our market, the state of the art, is just $65 million, and we could consider it as a small portion of the market, but in reality, it's just because there is no scale. Today, all the new technology that are coming in terms of new materials that can be biofabricated are quite novel, are quite new. So what we are observing in the market is a big pressure. We are absolutely supply constraint, and all companies doing our job are trying to reach the scale as fast as possible, simply because we have a very nice window where we can play. And this window and the market traction today is offered by mostly the fashion industry. The fashion industry, there is special momentum into the fungal fermentation and mycelium material itself. And a lot of companies are announcing big groups like Kering, LVMH, Hermes, Adidas, PVH are trying to grab these technologies in order to deliver new products in the market as soon as possible, and of course we are collaborating with some of them. Moreover, we have also a special angle today because we have our own IP. We have a basic patent that is covering our intellectual property, but most important, we are in Italy and in Europe where the value chain, leather value chain is, and this is absolutely a main asset that we have. That's why just last month we decided to launch this new material family. It's called EFEA. And the EFEA is basically a flexible material family that is quite unique considering the special texture, the special touch and feel, and it grows, the material grows in a very simple way, and it's easy to scale, it's cost competitive. Of course, it's vegan friendly. We are not talking about animal in this case, but it can be produced locally, considering the vertical farming concept, valorizing natural fibers. We had the chance to launch these products together with Balenciaga 1 month ago during the Winter Fashion Week. That was absolutely an achievement, considering that no other companies worldwide got such results. And well, today we are also supplying at commercial level to them, even a small scale, and we have a collaboration with a luxury holding group. Moreover, we are collaborating with independent tanneries and also researching the new materials family in order to advance in the properties also at the European level, considering the fact that we are coordinating a quite prestigious European project called MyFi with 7 million funds from the European Union. Looking at the competitive landscape, we are the only European company that is quite an asset again, because all the others that are bigger in terms of funding are based in the US. In reality, in Europe and in Italy especially, we have all the textile and fashion industry very close to us, especially the leather industry is close to us, but even the synthetic leather is a European topic. What is the difference also? Technology. We are not using the solid state fermentation, we employ liquid state fermentation. We know that it is much more capable and versatile in order also to achieve better performance. That's why with the small funding we achieve great results, even bigger than our competitors. We want to do the job, so our business model is simple for the next 5 years. We want to ferment our feedstock in order to create semi-finished materials like this. This is pure mycelium. And finally, to finish the job, collaboration with tanneries in order to achieve the alternative leather. And here we go. We want to sell to manufacturer, to brands, and in future, after 5 years, have improved the technology at scale. Commercial scale will be ready to consider also licensing. So licensing scheme. Well, again, scheme is the evolution of Mogu. Mogu is a company based in Varese. We are 30 people, so a startup, but not so small. We are already in the market with the interior design products, but most important during these 7 years, because we are 7 years now, we learned how to build a company. So how to take a nice basic technology, create a product, certify the product, certify the process, because we also have the ISO 9001 in terms of production quality, and creating a brand identity, targeting a market, so implementing a market strategy and then a marketing strategy in order to scale the market. And we want to use the experience of Mogu in order to create even a bigger impact with the FEA, with the new vertical. That's why at a certain point we felt the need to create Scheme as a technology holding owning the two verticals, the one dedicated to the building and interior design, which is Mogu, very well established today, and the FEA, which is the new adventure that we have in front of us for the next years. 5 years in front with a clear plan. Today we are at the pilot scale, we are already commercial, even with a flexible material, but we want to move fast into the demo facility, so the demo scale with a target of 200,000 square meters per year, and finally in 4 years to implement the first commercial facility, most probably in Italy. But at the same time, we will also develop our materials further, because today we validated for the ready-to-wear leather goods in the fashion industry, but we want to do the job also for the shoes, which is more challenging, electronics, leather goods, so hard luxury as well, and finally automotive and furniture, where we are already developing and collaborating with the huge brands, but those are challenging sector and market segments. But we will play a role, considering the fact that our ambition is big. We want to have a consistent return in terms of turnover in the next 5 years already. We have a target of 80 millions in 5 years, and then a much bigger picture will be implemented starting from the 6th year, also with the diversification of the business model as well. But Scheme, at the end of the day, is a technology platform, and it's an opportunity of having an impact also in further application and industries. So today we are already in the leather alternative building sector, but we are already co-developing with the food industry for food application. We are talking about fermented ingredients, and we could act also in the pharmaceutical segment and so on. So there is no limit what we can do with our technology. In principle, we have already a nice team that is able to deliver from technical point of view and also the commercial point of view, considering the existing scale. Of course, we need to do much more and we need to grow. That's why we are already integrating new skill profiles in order to increase the seniority level, adding more skills to our team. And of course, we also have an advisory board composed by prestigious profiles that are supporting regarding special topics, specific topic pretty much related to our daily job and the future development. So thank you very much, and we are just starting as a company follow-up. We'll see where we can end. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Stefano, excellent to see the evolution of Mogu over these last few years. Of course, we met many years ago as we started the process of BioInitaly with Mogu, and so we're really glad to see this evolving here. So as you look at the investment that you need today, what do you have in front of you? What do you need?
Okay, well, this is also the chance to clarify that we ended and closed a seed round last year, around 1.2 million, welcoming Italian VC, but also Risogallo, which is quite famous Italian food producer that would like to valorize these residues, just to prove the fact that we are in the circular economy again. Today, the ambition is quite big. We have feel the pressure from the market, and the target is to raise up to 25 millions in order to have the comfort to work properly in the next 3 years at the demo scale already. Of course, we have some CapEx that is in front of us, but we believe that this is a reasonable picture in order to have an impact, consistent impact for the future.
And is that investment in Scheme, or is it in Mogu, or is it in...
It's in the Scheme. We are not, I would like to also to highlight the fact that we are not pivoting. We are quite happy what we are doing in the building sector. Today, this is a way to open a bit more the material sector, the biomaterial sector, more biomaterial opportunity, and reaching our portfolio with the new material family, which is EFEA. So the fundraising is pretty much related to Scheme, despite the fact that we also admit that most of the resources will go to the leather alternative.
At the holding company level, and then you have the different entities with different product and industrial categories. Questions from the audience here? Okay, we have a few. Let's go ahead and move the microphone around.
Stefano, congratulations. You address a real growth market, I think. That's the good news. I have a question. How do you differentiate from your competitors? Because in this field, you showed that many companies are active. You said you differentiate by using a liquid fermentation process. But what is the impact? Does it lower the cost? Is there an impact on the quality?
First of all, is quality and performance. Using our direct competitors are, at least in our picture, are those using a similar technology, so fungal fermentation, but which is mostly, again, solid state. It's a job that we know very well, considering that we employ solid state fermentation in the biocomposite that we use for the interior design products, and we know that is not capable to offer the quality and the homogeneity to the materials. The homogeneity and the quality is very important, especially for the fashion industry, but for any potential application. So the quality is the first topic. The second topic is the scalability, because the liquid fermentation is also offering an opportunity of implementing a system that is more scalable in principle. Again, we use a vertical farming system. Well, it differs pretty much from the other, also in terms of IP, because our IP is unique and we control it, also in terms of genetic, but at the very end, the big answer is coming from the market. The brands say that our materials are better, that's why they are looking for us today.
Okay, thank you for the question and thank you for the answer. Fabrizio.
So I have also a question, because I know that there are, let's say, other vegetable leathers, such as the ones made from grape skins, for example, but also in Mexico we have found a company that does also from opuntia. They make vegetable leather. But beside that, in terms of pricing, how do you compare with them? Because very often it comes down to price, ultimately.
Absolutely, that's a good question. It's somehow completing also the previous question. Basically, the market segment is this one. Today we are targeting mostly the animal leather in terms of final product feeling and performance. With the synthetic leather coming from the biopolymers, you can observe companies like Vegea, Pignatex, materials coming from cactus, apple, so many. What they do, basically, they are trying to simulate, to replicate, to change the concept of the biopolyurethane, which is a concept that we know very well because we use some biopolyurethane formulation. And basically, they want to avoid the polyurethane inside the PVC layer, and this is offering an opportunity for the synthetic leather market, but you cannot achieve the same touch and feel and the property that is needed for the fashion industry, of course, because it's a different feeling itself. So you cannot be so close to the animal leather. It's a completely different product. It's very valuable, so it's a very nice application. It's a big market, but it's more volume and less price. So looking at the price today, our target, especially in the next 5 years, is the premium sector that is repaying a bit better, considering the performance that we can achieve with the polymeric material like that one. So. The so-called spalmato, you can stay in a pricing that is around 15 to 25 euros per square meter, which is quite different from the target that we have, honestly.
Okay, thank you for that question. Vivek? Yep, here we go. Thank you.
Could you elaborate a bit on your business model? Because I see 2-3 different things. You have the vertical farming for the input material, you have the fermentation, liquid fermentation, and then you have the output. And then you're also talking a bit about applications into food and so on. So where would you really focus as you scale up, as you grow up?
Okay, we don't want to be distracted by other application of working with fungal fermentation is quite tricky because, of course, you can hit different application and markets, and you are constantly surrounded by companies offering collaboration. It's a pity to refuse them and to reject them, but in reality, we are a material company. So we decided clearly to leverage our know-how in terms of material science and potential verticalization. So our model today is quite clear. It's not distracted by other things, despite the fact that we keep an important R&D team for the future, because at the end of the day, it's an opportunity also for the investors because they can valorize what they put in our company in the longer perspective. In any case, the target in the short and medium, but even long term, is really into the segments that we that I just highlighted. So we don't pretend to do many things. It would be impossible. We want to valorize what we are good in doing, basically.
Okay, so this is, you've shown us a lot of different outputs, even though it really becomes leather or your qualified leather style product, and or your products in the building materials space or looking at things in that nature. But the technology itself is the same for both, just the output is slightly tuned or modified. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I mean, the basic technology and our main value proposition is based on mycelium technology, so fungal fermentation. For the interior design, we use more solid state fermentation. Then we had to internalize and acquire more skills related to the green chemistry, so bioresin, biofinishing, etc., which is valorizing the products that we create. And this is a good way also to open the opportunity in terms of products, to learn more and to be more integrated. But it's also true that we can leverage a lot of know-how and industrial framework, considering the fact that we are really into the textile and the building and the furniture industry, and especially in Lombardy. So we can collaborate a lot with tanneries, with finishing companies, with so many stakeholders that can help us to shortcut the process, the industrialization, and to limit a little bit the capex, otherwise it will be never ending.
All right, very exciting to see this, this technology and the idea of taking mushrooms or mycelium-based fungi and moving that into the markets in this way. It's an excellent, excellent pathway. Glad to see it, and glad to see Mogu moving forward here. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Stefano. All right, right now we ask you to leave the room just briefly so we have our chance to do a quick recap and discussion, and then we will meet you in the break room after for our lunch. So we have a quick chance to do one last recap and discussion, starting with the positives, then we move over to the questions and comments, and then we meet together for networking in the lunchroom behind us. And so this will be the last of our day here today, but we want to take advantage of this opportunity while you're in the room to get your comments on this. So starting with the positives, let's start with the positives on Mogu. What did you like about this particular project?
I think they know what they're talking about. The material is there, you know, it's beyond proof of concept, and it's really looking at an industrial scale up. So it sounds very positive.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely playing let's say, meeting a trend in the market to go for natural-based products. So, yeah.
Other positives. I can say that this is an area of great interest for myself and for my son, who just graduated in biology. He's focused on food security, food safety, but also on connected agricultural products. He's taken on a vegan approach just to test to see what that means for health and wellness going forward, and looking at mycelium as the connected world. You know, the largest organism in the world is really focused on mycelium, and so this is one of those areas where you can see huge opportunity in something that really is driving the connectedness of all these different ecosystems biologically. So this is a truly interesting area to focus on, taking something that in some cases is looked at as being a waste product and really leveraging the true advantage that this fibrous entity that can truly create a variety of different connected structures and substrates. This is a really exciting piece of the puzzle. They work in Varese, where I live, and so I have now a chance to go and visit their new facility and trying to understand where they go next in scaling up this project as well. Other positives that anybody else wanted to comment on? Questions, concerns, issues? Manfred, okay, we've got a couple of fingers up here. Let's start here.
Well, it's not a concern, it's a question. This is a hot market, and therefore time is decisive, and I'm not sure whether they grow as fast as they should.
All right, that's an excellent comment, and I love to hear this, because for me, entrepreneurship is all about urgency, taking a crisis, leveraging that for the opportunity that it presents. I like this comment. They need to move faster. They probably need more money. So let's talk about that later.
Yeah, and for me also price, because his answer was clear but not clear enough. I mean, many years ago I made a consultancy for IKEA, and they told us, look, when we substitute a product with another, we substitute only if the new product is cheaper than the other one or performs better and costs the same. So here, what I say when he said, look, for me, we go in the high premium market and so on, that's a niche market, that's good, but the scalability of the process must be driven by cost reduction if you want a massive scale. If they want, for example, to give this ladder to IKEA for new sofas, that would be tremendous market in terms of square meter, but you can do only if your price goes below a certain threshold.
Okay, great comment. So that's a scalability challenge. Certainly price, quality, they have to be major improvements in order to be market ready. What else?
Maybe on the tanning part. So I guess you also need chemicals. And if you still need it, the environmental impact is still there. So it would be good to focus on that where you have a lesser environmental impact as well. And I'm not sure whether that is the case for this one as well.
More a comment, because one is seeing so much of the interest in plant-based diets, and growing animals is contributing to climate change. But the thing to remember is animal leather by itself is not contributing. There's another view because it's a byproduct of the food industry. When you're raising cattle stock for beef, and the animal leather is a byproduct. So by itself, animal leather is not contributing to climate change. So what will be the story here for the fashion houses, etc.?
All right, so that's an integration challenge to really understand food and textile together in this question. And of course, the question about the tanning or the coloration of products at the end. This is one of the most contaminating industries in the world right now, so it certainly has to be addressed. Thank you for both of these comments. Any last comments? Okay, so if you have additional comments, this is your chance in the networking event that is our lunch break. You have a chance to ask questions, to communicate directly with the entrepreneurs who have presented here today. This is the closing of our BioInitaly South, and so it's been great to be here in Lecce in the Puglia region and a chance to talk to entrepreneurs and investors interested in seeing this circular bioeconomy be a predominant investment area in the future as well, and particularly here in the European community and in Italy specifically. Lots of exciting opportunities to invest in and to be part of. So please join me and the rest of our team, and thank you to Intesa Sanpaolo, the Innovation Center, the Assobiotec, Spring, and to Lecce as well. And we appreciate all of the support for running these types of programs. We meet you in the lunchroom back here, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.